Isabel de la Cruz was a name known all over the world. She was the only daughter of Don Ricardo de la Cruz, the richest man in the Philippines, maybe even in all of Asia. Her life was like a fairy tale. She lived in a mansion that looked like a palace, wore clothes from the most famous designers, and traveled the world in a private jet. But even with all the money and fame, Isabel had a big problem. It was a problem that her father's billions could not solve. She had to get married before she turned 27, a birthday that was just around the corner. If she didn't, the entire De la Cruz fortune would go to her cousin, who was already married. Some people might think this was unfair, but Isabel understood her father's wish. She was the only one who could continue the family name, and for that, she needed a husband. Don Ricardo wanted to see his grandchildren before he got too old. Isabel agreed with him. She loved her father and wanted to honor his legacy. So she decided to face the challenge head-on. She wasn't just going to find any husband. No, she was going to find the best husband. She made a shocking announcement that was heard from Manila to New York. She would marry the world's most handsome single man. The news spread like wildfire. Isabel was not just a pretty face. She was also very smart. She knew finding the most handsome man in the world would not be easy. How could she possibly choose from so many? She thought about it for days. She needed a modern solution for a modern problem. And then, she had a brilliant idea. She would create a special mobile application, a contest where all the single men of the world could join. But she would not be the one to choose. The decision would be made by the girls of the world. They would be the judges. They would vote for the man they thought was the most handsome. The plan was simple yet revolutionary. It was her way of making sure the choice was fair and transparent. She believed that beauty was something that many people could agree on. She wanted a husband that the world would admire. She announced her plan on a global press conference, her voice clear and confident. "Let the women of the world help me find my future husband," she said with a smile. The world listened and everyone was excited. This was not just a marriage proposal. It was a global event, a love story waiting to happen, and Isabel de la Cruz was the star of the show. The app was called Isabel's Choice. It was simple to use. Any single man under the age of 30 could sign up. He just needed to be healthy and have no criminal record. He would upload his best photos and a short video introducing himself. Then the voting would begin. Only users who identified as female could cast a vote. The idea was to let the collective opinion of women decide who was truly the most handsome. The app was launched on a Monday morning and within minutes, it crashed. The number of downloads was unbelievable. The servers were not prepared for the massive global interest. After a quick upgrade, the app was back online and the world went wild. Suddenly, news channels reported a strange trend, a sudden spike in divorces. Men who were unhappily married saw this as their chance of a lifetime. They rushed to get divorced so they could become single and join the contest. Famous Hollywood actors, popular athletes with millions of fans, and even some young princes from small European countries signed up. Their handsome faces filled the app's homepage. Millions of men, from rich heirs to simple farmers, all wanted to win the heart of the beautiful heiress, and, of course, a share of her fortune. Isabel watched the numbers climb, amazed. Millions of men had joined. The voting was happening in real time, and the leaderboard changed every second. It was like the whole world had stopped to watch her find a husband. The app became the #1 topic on social media. #Isabel's Choice was trending everywhere. Girls from all over the globe formed online groups to discuss their favorite candidates. They debated over who had the best smile, the kindest eyes, or the most charming personality. The contest became more than just a search for a husband. It was a global conversation about beauty. But Isabel knew that looks were not everything. She needed to find a man with a good heart and a sharp mind. So she started adding new rules and filters to the contest. First, she added a questionnaire about their values and dreams. Then, she asked the top 1,000 candidates to submit a video talking about their families. This helped her see their character. She wanted someone who was not just handsome on the outside, but also on the inside. With each new rule, thousands of men were eliminated. The contest became tougher and more interesting. The world watched as the pool of candidates got smaller and smaller. The excitement reached its peak when Isabel announced the final 10 candidates. These were the men who had passed all the tests and received the most votes. They were a diverse group. There was a famous Hollywood actor known for his action movies. There was a football superstar from Brazil with a charming smile. There was a young billionaire from Silicon Valley who had created a popular app. There was even a prince from a small European country. Each one of them was incredibly handsome and successful. The world was divided. Everyone had their favorite, and the debates online became more intense. Isabel announced that the final stage of the contest would be a live television interview. The 10 finalists would be flown to Manila to be interviewed by Isabel herself, in front of a live audience and millions of viewers around the world. The TV special was called Isabel's Final Choice. It was the most anticipated television event of the year. TV networks from all over the world bought the rights to broadcast it. People planned viewing parties with their friends and families. Betting stations even started taking bets on who would be the winner. The whole world was ready for the grand finale. The night of the live show was electric. The studio was filled with stars and important guests. Isabel looked stunning in a beautiful gown made by a famous Filipino designer. She was a bit nervous, but also very excited. One by one, the finalists came on stage. They answered Isabel's questions with charm and intelligence. The actor talked about his passion for charity work. The athlete spoke about his love for his family. The billionaire discussed his vision for the future. The audience applauded for each one. The live voting was open, and the numbers on the screen were changing rapidly. The suspense was almost too much to handle. The host of the show kept reminding the viewers to keep voting. The competition was very close. The actor was in the lead for a while, then the athlete took over. The votes were pouring in from every corner of the globe. Isabel watched the men carefully, listening to their every word. She was not just looking for a handsome face. She was looking for a connection, a spark. She wanted to find the man she could spend the rest of her life with. The whole world held its breath, waiting for the final result. As the voting timer counted down to the last 10 seconds, the tension in the studio was unbearable. The top two contenders were the Hollywood actor and the Brazilian football star. Their vote counts were neck and neck. The host shouted, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1! The voting was closed. The final results were tabulated, and a name was sealed in a golden envelope. The host took the envelope and walked towards Isabel. "The world has voted," he said, his voice booming. "The man chosen to be your husband, Isabel, is..." He opened the envelope and paused for dramatic effect. The world waited. The host's eyes widened in surprise. "This is unbelievable," he exclaimed. "The winner is Ethan!" The crowd gasped. Who was Ethan? He wasn't the actor, he wasn't the athlete, he wasn't the prince or the billionaire. The camera panned to a young man sitting with the other finalists looking completely shocked. He was Ethan-centric Reyes, a popular Filipino-American YouTuber. He was known for his funny vlogs about daily life and his travel videos where he explored different cultures. He was handsome for sure, but he was not a global superstar like the others. He was just a guy from the internet. The studio erupted in a mix of confused murmurs and excited cheers. Ethan slowly walked to the center of the stage, his face a picture of disbelief. Isabel smiled warmly at him, a genuine and happy smile. The final voting results appeared on the giant screen. In the last few minutes, a massive surge of votes from his millions of young followers had pushed Ethan to the top, overtaking the big celebrities. It was a victory for the internet generation. The girls of the world had not chosen the most famous or the richest man. They had chosen the one they found most relatable, most real. The news of the YouTuber winning the heiress's hand in marriage became the biggest story in the world. Some people were shocked and disappointed. They thought the actor or the athlete should have won, but many more were happy and inspired. They saw it as a modern fairy tale where a normal guy won the princess's heart. Ethan and Isabel stood on stage, hand in hand, as confetti rained down on them. It was a surprising end to a surprising contest, and for Isabel, it was the perfect beginning. She hadn't just found a husband, she had found someone the world truly loved.